At this point, I've got movies and storytelling downloaded, and I know that the more you create something, a certain type of something, whether it's a book, a story, or an app or whatever, the more you start to gain a vision, a second sight of how that thing is put together. It's only natural. As a kid, I played with Legos a lot, and after a while, you could tell what was the 2x4 brick, what was the single 1x3 brick, the two brick, and so on. You could tell the sizes as you start building with it more, and what are the components that go into certain sets, and things that you want to build, custom things that you want to build. And it's the same with anything that you want to create. Here's an example. Last night, wife and I watched The King's Man. This is the third movie in the Kingsman series, Kingsman Secret Service, and I do this thing called my wife hates it. It's a random movie. It's where I pick a random movie, and it's mainly to avoid the classic conundrum, modern uh, overabundance of choice, being overwhelmed by that. Because it can take, how it is. You start searching for a movie, you're in the mood for a movie, and then next thing you know, 15, 20 minutes have passed as you comb through the infinite amount of options, and like, oh, this one looks good. Maybe you start watching trailers or whatever, and then before you know it, you've spent a quarter or half a movie's length of time making a selection. I just can't stand it when that happens. It's like the movie's already going to be 2 hours probably, and then I'm going to tack on another 30 minutes of selection. Fuck that. So I'll pick a random movie and I'll just watch it. So last night chose The King's Man. The interesting thing about The King's Man, if you haven't seen it, um, it's not that old. I think it came out in 2021, but it's got the same kind of cheeky sense of humor. It's got a little bit of a sense of humor because I remember that from the first movie, but it's a little bit dialed down because it's a war movie. I mean, and it covers World War One, which I feel like these to make a non straight up documentary or a cinematic experience based on World War One is pretty rare. I mean, there's tons of World War Two movies, but World War One isn't a movie that I've seen a lot of contemporary movies about. But anyway, turn on The King's Man. Great movie, and I can just kind of hear the ticking of the beats of the story of the way the movie's constructed. And I think this is because I've been really going hard in not only writing my own stories, but really studying story this last month, just downing Sanderson videos, downing story structure, plot videos, just kind of treating. I remember I used to treat these types of videos as, oh, I already know how to do that. I already know how to do that. But then I got into the mindset of like an athlete or someone who's a professional in a certain field. And professionals are always going for continuing education. They're always getting better. And yeah, of course, they know a lot of things about a particular field, but it's why you go to conferences. It's why you take trainings because maybe there's one thing, a lot of the broad stuff about a particular field, but maybe there's one thing that pushes you a little bit further along that sparks some thinking in one of your processes for your story. You never know what you're going to find in some of these stories. All it takes is one sentence sometimes for it to be like, oh, I never thought of that before, and then you go back and apply it. So I've been doing this a lot for the past month, basically trying daily to consume a piece of content that is writing related, that is related to specifically fiction writing, storytelling. And right now, I've been going through Brandon Sanderson's latest BYU lecture series. He did a updated version for 2025 a couple of months ago, and it's a masterclass. I mean, it is. I mean, here's an author that's at the top of his game, and not only puts out a ton of online content, but unlike most people who put out content, he still writes a lot, and he's a successful writer. So he's kind of got that trifecta as he's very active, he's successful, and he's a good teacher. I mean, he is a college professor. So I've been downing those videos, but back to the Kingsman. As I'm watching it, I'm just kind of like, yep, here comes the inciting incident. Yep, this is the wound. You know, they start with spoiler alert. I'm going to spoil this movie. So they start with the death of the mother, which in the beginning, I'm already trying to figure out where is the narrative center of this story. Is it going to be the father or the son? And originally, I thought it was going to be the son, but they smartly, the way they weaved in the son's story, and it was really about the father in the end. And after like the first 30 minutes, I could tell that it's like, okay, we're focusing on dad, because his fear of letting the son go, of not protecting him, it kind of goes back to all of his code. Like he told his dying wife, the wife, her last literally her last words were protect our son, and he took it seriously. That's like, okay, that's my mission in life, is to protect my son. And when he lets him go off to fight in the world, well, he doesn't really let him. The son kind of just makes the decision, like, um, yeah, I'm gonna go do this. You can't stop me. I'm gonna go fight in the war, and then eventually gets killed. You could just, I remember after the son dies, it's like, okay, here comes the dark night of the soul. He's lost his son, the ultimate. He's failed. He's failed his mission to protect his son. Um, Shame on his wife, shame on his son. And then, of course, he's back, and here comes Act Three, the final act. And then you could just hear this tick, tick, tick of the film. This is kind of cool to me, that that I've developed this vision, because like most people, I've consumed movies all my life, but I've never been able to think of them in this way. And it was actually a Brandon Sanderson video that basically said, because he in one video he talked about how movies are better than books at some things, but books are better than movies at other things. And what he said books were better at than movies is books have more time to, to just take things slower. There's a similar advancement, or at least there should be a similar advancement in the story and in the characters and all of that. But movies, this is why movies are can be good to study for story, because everything has to be condensed. In a good movie, everything is very tight. You have very quickly, the wound's coming, the inciting incident is coming, the um, certain just character moments and plot. Everything has to be so tight, and I think this is why good screenplays are hard to write, because it's really a condensing of the story structure, and that's hard to do. That's an art form to be able to. I know, like off the top of my head, I tend to write long. I tend to like flourishes and more colorful character moments, and having more of those slow moments, and just being able to kind of burn. And a movie cannot do that, or else it'll be fucking 4 hours long, 5 hours long, and nobody will watch it. So they have to trim all the fat, but then they have the visuals to kind of do the lifting as well. And in books, typically, in novels, I'm speaking mostly in novels, you don't have usually the visuals to go along with it. That's kind of the point of it, is the reader's imagination. So I thought this was neat, and I'd say if I'm a big advocate of this. No matter if you're writing fiction, and this is primarily I write I when I do these. This is a journal. When I do these kind of reflections, I think mostly of writing fiction and novels. But you know, it's kind of like it's just like fitness. Just because you're a a runner doesn't mean you shouldn't lift weights. Just because you're a basketball player doesn't mean you shouldn't, maybe cross train with uh with playing another sport. The whole point is it all makes you a better storyteller at the end of the day. So watching movies with a different eye, with different lens, playing video games, is really consuming stories in in different manners. It is the equivalent of cross training. The more you seriously do it, it's going to make you better at at writing novels, at writing long form fiction, because it's a similar thing. It's all storytelling, but it's just a different way things are constructed. And also with the second sight, I find myself I'm much more interested in cinematography these days. Right now, I'm republishing my first novel, Sirius and Limnic, and for the past week straight, I've done videos on YouTube, and I'm just kind of doing these daily. And every day, I'm seeing how I can experiment and slowly add visuals that I create into into the into the story. And I don't want to use AI. I've experimented with AI, and I've talked about this in previous things, but I I want to find my own style. I want to see how I create this form of art. And AI stuff, it looks great, and it's very efficient and fast. Um, it's certainly cheaper monetarily and time wise to use AI, but I don't want to do that. I've done that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do my own art. So yesterday I bought two storyboarding. I think I bought three storyboarding courses, two on Udemy and one of this former Disney animators. And um, yeah, I really want to slowly add this to my workflow. And I have been practicing drawing and art for the past month. So not to say that I'm ready to draw my own storyboards. If you go to my channel, if you're on around this channel, you won't find any yet. But that is the goal. The goal is to slowly introduce my own drawing style for visually interpreting my stories in these videos. And so as I do that, there's a nice connection to film. So I found myself looking at different shot compositions and interesting, wide shots and establishing shots and over the shoulder, how just a movie is constructed through cinematography. That's a big part of storyboarding, because you're basically doing that in animated frames or digital, however you do it. So the point is, all of this is connected, and it was good because I'm not a big movie watcher. Movies just take too long to consume, and unlike video games, they have to be continuous. Like I can pick up Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. I can play for like 20 minutes, and then I can turn it off. But a movie, it's kind of meant to be consumed in one go. So I don't watch a lot of movies because of that. But there's a lot to learn there from studying the medium as a student of story.